Hello and welcome. Currently 11 p.m. and it is the 28th of March 2021, 13 and 3/4. Price of Theta. Of course, all bets, trades amongst the like. That is each his own risk and their own reward. There's a decent amount of sideways consolidation there. See a little bit of increasing over really today's session, and it doesn't seem as if this monster, this run, however you want to name it, is over. Key high, and that key high was near 15. Key low, north of 10 by a bit, but not much at all below 11 and change. Went to the 18 highs, back to the lows, and what do we see here? Well, four or so periods doing what it did and exit. This is just a strong setup. We'll see what happens, but wow, this could get very, very interesting. And it looked nicer on against the Bitcoin. Let's take a look at this on the hourly time frame. It looks good here. We can see it's gotten above this level of resistance, but most importantly, let's do some Fibonacci calculations, which is taken high 1496 and divide it by the low, which is like 1040 or 1020 maybe. 1035, 1035. So I'm looking at the 76 and 61.8 numbers. It's holding and staying above the 61.8, breaking above 76.4, which is $13 and 13.71. Okay, first the holding and staying above the 13. I mean, yeah, kind of in these two periods, sort of. I mean, this is the resistance of the 13 that we had here in several periods, and then it got away from it. And now, with the 1371 representing the 676.4 Fibonacci percentage, we can see just how on the 15, how it's just been consolidating amongst that level really nicely. And it's looking like as if it might not want to stay there too much longer. I mean, they could easily continue ranging there, but sellers aren't showing much conviction at all. So yeah, with the Bitcoin chart, it had some interesting looks. I was so from like 9 o'clock this morning on, I was like, oh my goodness, you're gonna do this for me again today? It's at 25,000 Satoshi. But this hourly time frame was just sick. We have this high, we have this low, and a decent amount of time going to this low. 2 o'clock in the morning, it breaks out, and then a beautiful sideways consolidation. But how it shows when you see a market have a move to show strength at the 18 as it did, like it did here. I was expecting this to happen before it happened. And it's decent gain so far. Obviously, this level of resistance consolidating in here, and it's had a nice little run moving further. And the 4 hour was looking phenomenal too. It was just the strength that I was seeing on here, and then the breakout. I was seeing excitation coming in earlier when I was looking at it. And all of these time is this could be, I don't know, this could be fantastic how you can see these gains just happen in such a large amount of time. But regardless of the fact, there's going to be a large correction that happens. The bigger the move higher, the bigger the percentage down it should have, but the higher low it should become. Meaning, if it would have topped at 13,000, which or 15, which it didn't, then maybe we come back down to like only 7. and get a 50% decline. Oh, it's going to be greater than 50, much greater. And speak now, so instead of coming back down here, maybe it only comes back down to like 10 or 12 from 26. But if it goes to 60 or 80, maybe it only goes down to 24. And if it goes to 250, maybe it can come back down to 50 or 45. And even if it goes to 250, it might come back down to 15,000 and back higher. That's how sick the volatility on these markets can come into play. And it really wouldn't be the largest of surprises when things like that occur in such a interesting world, to say the least. And when you want to talk about strength amongst the 18 average of highs, what did that show beforehand? Just something to keep into perspective when trying to understand how to read these charts, or if you're using it. Was there anything to tell you beforehand that this move was going to happen? I don't know. I kind of do. I'm just not going to go. I'm just going to do a different market now. And I suppose Hadara, HBAR will work for this one. Let's just do these two only. Those are two V's. I don't know. That might mean something, it might not. But I'm just drawing lines. I also see we have these two blue lines coming in. That's the 18 period average, which means we've entered the 18th month. I got more of it when we look on the weekly. So there's V1, V number 2. And I said this way back when about Theta, when I liked how it was holding above 3,000 Satoshi way back when, and 4,000 Satoshi. I like, and it's even holding better than what I'd like to see it hold, how it's holding a higher area. This, and it can still come down and hold it, if it's whatever. But if we're going to have a move, after coming here and here, any corrections to hold and stay within this area. So far it's been here. It's been a couple of periods only amongst the weekly. But after this phenomenal move higher, it's hasn't sold off. It's not a surprise for any given time where we could have just another monstrous one or two green candles, and maybe ones that exceed these previous great moves we had before, as far as, well, that's what the bar is set for the best weeks that it's had. And we're looking for percentile gains. This was 106%, which, meh. I mean, 100 to 7, that's 7x. That's pretty good. There's a lot of coins, Theta included, that have been crushing that 7x number. Theta, of course, going from under 1,000 to over 25,000 Satoshi. Anyway, after having all this resistance earlier this year, beautiful gain, and there's this consolidation. We're seeing it. I'm seeing it anyway. Maybe you're seeing the same thing, but doing better amongst the 18 over the last 4 periods, and it was still good here compared to these ones. Keeping an uptrend, all that type of stuff in play. So the 18 average is kind of not flattening at all. It's keeping the uptrend, albeit on a barely. It's still rising. And in order for it to continue rising, price action has to break above the 18 average of highs, or quite frankly, the 18 average of highs will first flatten out, and then soon after that, the lows. But it also, I see here amongst the daily that maybe it looks like it's trying to break free. I like, again, these 3 days how we're supporting this resistance. Probably see it much more clearly amongst the 4-hour term time frame. In fact, I could just stick a little line in there and be, you can obviously see that it has. Just, there we go. So this general area here, resistance, 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 there it's support. This period, a noticeable break, 6.4% higher. So downtrend, could have this break above, it neutralizes the situation, so a flat 18 band. And beforehand, we had a lot of strength amongst the 18 average of highs, which resulted in a failed breakout, at least for the early being. There's a lot of strength showing there, and then it starts to break out, but it ends up being a successful correction. So when you see these, oh, is it a failed breakout or is it a correctionary back move? And I just used that, made that name up on the fly, correctionary back move, and that's what it was. At least that's what it's looking like because of its breakout of this period. You break out above it, you come back to where you came from, and then there you have it. So to me, this is looking poised for it should be a very, very interesting Monday session. Maybe just nice little, and even just looking at 3 periods here, even these two as well show how where it was this one coming, getting above the 18 average of highs, this high, and then it came back down. So you know price action went up, back, up. And we're pretty much at the area of previous high, barely above it right now. So just by looking at this, I can pretty much tell short term that the indications would be telling me that it's probably going to go higher. And I haven't looked at the shorter term, and wow, nice. Okay, so you have a little bit of periods in here. This is just a beautiful consolidation situation here. And then you take the correctionary move from key high to key low, and you're going to see this better on the 5 and 1, which I haven't even seen. How you've managed to correct that 100% and now break above it. And again, this is a barely break, so you see the early stages of this situation where you might be looking to make a buy. If you're doing a type of day trade, maybe you see spots like this. I'm going to buy now, adjust where you put stops, sell at these points in here, and maybe oftentimes you're gonna get your sell targets relatively quick because when I see a pattern like this, I wouldn't be surprised if that next leg higher happens in the next 2 or 3 periods, which would be from my time frame. It's 11:11 p.m., so probably even before midnight hit. And then I'm not going to go to the one, but it's already, you can see the candles in here is just not the. It just even looks worse. But this level of resistance, hey, it's definitely rejecting it right now. Getting nicely above it. And you can all look at this nice little failed breakdown too. I'm going to try to get my drawing tool there. Just to go like this. And it didn't even click it. I pushed it like twice, 3 times. The button to go like this. Okay. Right in here. This is pretty interesting. Because you have your high. Have your correctionary move. Okay, that's expected. Start your rally. Matching high, piercing less. Took 4 periods to do this for. I mean, volatility was lower. Not as great of buyer control. Or buyer wasn't as powerful. But the sellers came in a larger strom. This selling was bigger than that, violating this level of support. Statement move. So now, when you do this, we're gonna are we gonna start to be targeting or saying that these are price objectives now? Well, let's see how correctionary phase works out in. Well, within this correctionary phase point of view, what would happen on the resistance level? Right in here. How did it follow? We followed it by just hanging in there below the 18 average of highs. Okay, that still could be bearish, but that's kind of not. That's a bullish kind of thing to see. And then the next 4 periods after that. This one stayed below the highs for 4 periods. Didn't really break out above it, but it stayed completely above it for 4 consecutive periods in a row. And then now over the last 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, some nice grindingly making your way up, noticeable uptrend moves that has gotten you out above the previous level. Nicely above the 18 average, which is going to have to start to catch up one way or another now. And you can start to talk about testing some key levels. Of course, we've already looked at them, but 15 minutes you're breaking out. Here we're at this previous level. And I've said so many times, okay, well, how are we going to react when we get there? Well, we kind of already did get there 2 periods ago. So Now we can still resist it, sure. We can still have Fibonacci if it works out. If you see breakdown signs, I'm going to be looking. Oh, if I was to look for it, that is, from how we react with the 595 or so lows. But because of this, I'm looking at this market objective to be breaking higher with everything that I've seen. So I'm looking at the next key levels at that. And I'd be looking at Fibonacci from this high to this low. I think I already brought it up. Maybe I'll bring it in again. So 5. What was that Theta I did it with? Probably 533 and 759. No, I don't think I did it here. So the 61.8 is 663. It's interesting. That's not too far from the low. What's the 610? Oh, this could have some meaning to it. Okay, I should try to put a line in. I gotta do it my old ways. That I normally do it. Alright, so 610. It says 607, but most certainly it's a viable area. You can see it resisting here, comes back, resists it, then it attempts to get above it and break through. Then it does in here. But because this had a nice little move, but not so much, should I expect that? I'm saying this to myself right now. 663 is either going to be taken out or at least nicely pierced extra, which it usually does anyway. And I have to think yes to the pierce extra. So I would be looking at resistance near 679-ish area, 680, as a price objective to where the next leg higher, and see how we go from there moving forward. Because next level after that, next level after that, next level after that, and so on and so forth. And well, I use 23.6, then you got 38.2, then you got 61.8, then you got 76.4, then you got previous high, and then you got upside targets. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.